Hi guys, this is Dr. Cameron Dennis, physical therapist with Back on Track Therapy and Wellness and founder of the Running Injury Support Group. And today I wanted to get on and talk a little bit about proximal hamstring tendinopathy. Now, if you're not a runner, and even if you are, this is something that isn't quite as common. Hey Jordan, thanks for joining me. Proximal hamstring tendinopathy isn't quite as common as a lot of the other diagnoses that you may have heard of. In runners, you're always hearing about runner's knee and IT band syndrome. Hey Cindy, hey Jen, how are you? However, proximal hamstring tendinopathy is actually very common and often underdiagnosed in runners especially, but can also be the case in weightlifters. So I wanted to start off a little bit by talking about how you can recognize the location that the pain will be in if you're having sciatic symptoms, Piriformis syndrome, or proximal hamstring tendinopathy. So with sciatica, it's typically going to start from the lower back. Sometimes you'll have impingement down a little bit lower from the piriformis itself, but more often than not, it's because of something going on in the lower back. So basically, what you'll have is pain that will go down the leg into the foot. Sometimes it'll stay in the back of the knee. Sometimes it'll just be in the butt, and other times it'll be in the back. So it's like a traveling type of pain, depending on what you're doing or the severity of your pain that day. It sort of shifts. Okay, so that's sciatica. Okay, it's a condition of the sciatic nerve itself. Okay, piriformis pain is easily identified because in order to find the piriformis, you feel on the hip bone right here. Okay, sometimes you might have to rotate your leg in and out, but you'll feel that there's like a ridge right there, like a big bump. Okay, that's your hip. So then you feel back to your tailbone there. Okay, and in between, directly in between there, right in the middle, there's your piriformis. Okay, if you have an inflamed piriformis, you will know when you find it. It'll be very tender. It'll feel kind of like you have a sausage underneath the glute, which is strange, but if you feel it, you'll know what I mean. So sometimes an inflamed piriformis can cause symptoms of the sciatic nerve, but I think it's something that is often overdiagnosed, and that sciatic pain is not as commonly caused by the piriformis as I think people think it is. So the other one is, in which the video is about proximal hamstring tendinopathy. And like I said, it's not quite as well known, but is very prevalent in runners. So the way you identify this is if you feel under your butt cheek, you'll feel that there's the bone that you sit on, right? That's called your ischium. It's part of your pelvis. And the hamstrings, the muscles that run up the back of your leg, actually, hey Dee, how are you? They actually attach to the ischium. So proximal means up towards the middle of the body, up this way. Proximal hamstring and tendinopathy means a problem with the tendon or an abnormal occurrence in the tendon. And so you'll feel that because it'll hurt to sit. A lot of times it will hurt to walk, and it will definitely most likely hurt when you're running. But if you palpate, if you feel that area and it feels tender under there as opposed to where I pointed out the sciatic or the piriformis is, that's a good way that you can identify that. So how to reduce pain initially? Really, it's going to be similar in between the the piriformis inflammation and the proximal hamstring tendinopathy. Hey David, how are you? thanks for joining us. So what you'll have is you'll want to rest a little bit. Okay, when I say rest, I don't mean go sit on the couch and just stay on the couch. Okay, what I mean is if you're an avid runner and you're running all the time and it's causing it to become inflamed, you need to slow it down a little bit. Okay, if you can tolerate walking, that's great. Maybe try walking a little bit. It's a little bit hard to apply ice to the proximal hamstring because it is so deep under the glutes. But like I said, rest is going to be important. So if there's things that cause it to inflame, like sitting for extended periods of time, certain weightlifting exercises like doing deadlifts or doing squats might be. All right, Cindy, you got it. Have a good day. Doing strength exercises that cause a lot of strain on the proximal hamstring tendon itself is going to cause an inflammation of that area and an increase in pain if it's still in that what we call reactive phase, which is basically just like the hypersensitive phase of tendinopathy or tendinitis. Okay, so back off the activity a little bit just for maybe a week or so until it starts to calm down. Okay, this is common with any type of tendinitis or tendinopathy. So one thing you might try is, if you can, get into doing an aquatic type exercise, like getting in a pool and doing some walking in there. The heat and the water seem to really help with that type of thing, at least in my experience. One thing to note is I do not think, and I do not recommend doing hard stretches. Hi, Nick. Thanks for joining. Stretching a muscle that is either strained, irritated, or stretching, trying to stretch a tendon that is inflamed or irritable is a bad idea. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to increase the sensitivity of that tendon, and that's the opposite of what we're trying to do. Okay, we're trying to calm it down so that we can build it back up. All right. Hey, Will, how are you? Thanks for joining. Talking about proximal hamstring tendinopathy. So now that I've kind of explained how to reduce the pain initially, what you can do and what you need to do after that is to start building it back up. You need to start strengthening those hamstrings, because more than likely the cause of the problem was that you were your hamstrings were not able to handle the load that was being placed on them with whatever activity you were doing. Okay, so whether that was running uphill, running at an extreme incline on a treadmill for long periods of time, repeatedly, doing too heavy deadlifts. I mean, I could go on and on. Just running in general sometimes, depending on your type of heel strike, can cause hamstring tendinopathy. So there are exercises that you should start with. They're going to be exercises that are fairly basic, and we call these exercises isometrics. Thanks, David. So isometrics are important when you're coming out of an injury. Okay, you don't want to go in and start doing real intense strength training or stretching. Okay, you want to ease back into it, right? So I wanted to go through and show a couple exercises, and I know that with Facebook, I have to have the camera like this, which I actually hate, but we'll do what we can here. So the first exercise that I wanted to demonstrate was the supine glute bridge. So you can do this with double legs or single. Hopefully you can see me from over there. Okay, and many of you have done these before. Okay, that's it, right there. Okay, I feel it in my glutes. I definitely feel it in my hamstrings. Okay, and you're just holding it. Okay, you might hold this for 10 seconds. Okay, as tolerated, because if it's causing you a lot of pain, maybe don't go up as high. But this is going to be a very good introductory exercise for you. Okay, so you'll start with those. Okay, if you can do it with a single leg, then you can progress on to that. Okay, really keep an eye on that tendon though. Okay, so after those, you can also do with your toes up. That seems to bring a little bit more work into the hamstrings as opposed to the glutes. Okay, so then you can also do single leg with the toe up on the bottom foot. Okay, so to change the length of the hamstring and to work it throughout its range of motion, what we can do is actually bring our legs a little bit further. Hopefully you can see that on the video. Bring our legs a little bit further out and do it from there. And you'll know that this is a totally different challenge than it was when they were up here. Okay, so you can do it with your feet relaxed, you can do it with your toes up, which once again brings a little bit more of a challenge to the hamstring itself. And with all of those, you're not going to be going up and down repeatedly. What you're going to be doing is just holding those positions for about 10 seconds. As you get stronger and as you can tolerate it, you can start holding it a little bit longer, maybe 20 to 30 seconds. As those become less challenging, then you can progress to more dynamic exercises, which we'll go into in other videos. But before that, I wanted to show one last exercise on the exercise ball that you can do for proximal hamstring tendinopathy. So let me grab my ball here. Hopefully you can see it, since I have to record vertically, which is like a sin on the internet, I think. Okay, so both feet are up here, laying down on my back. And the only thing I'm doing is lifting up my hips. Okay, this is a good one to start with too, a good introductory exercise. And like I said, I'm just holding it here. Okay, so this is still another level 1 exercise. What you can do as you start getting stronger is adding variations to these exercises. One thing that you can do is you can bring your legs here, and I actually credit Steve Napke for this exercise. But you bring it up and back down. Okay, just like that. You don't necessarily have to hold it for any period of time for this one, because this is a progression after the isometrics. Okay, you'll notice I'm moving rather than just holding the exercise. Okay, another one you might try is this. Put your legs flat, lift up your hips, and do a curl. It's like a hamstring curl. Okay, keeping your hips low so that you're not using your trunk. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Oh, Brian just got on. How's it going? Just going over proximal hamstring tendinopathy. You actually caught me at the end of the video here. Does anybody have any questions about treatment or identification of proximal hamstring tendinopathy? Awesome. Okay, so if you do happen to have any questions, just go ahead and post them in the comments section, or you can message me on Facebook. I'd love to have you join our running injury support group if you're dealing with a running injury and you haven't already joined. I try and get videos like this on there every day, as does Brianne Showman-Brown, who's just joined the chat. And we try and help runners who are going through injuries in different ways. So we appreciate you being on the video. And once again, my name is Dr. Cameron Dennis, the physical therapist with Back on Track Therapy and Wellness in Wapakoneta, Ohio. And I thank you for watching.